Bracky, thank you ever so much for joining us today on the podcast. It's a pleasure to have you here.
I hope you got
Um,
intro music.
what's that? You
I
love
said,
my
I hope
intro
you got
music.
intro music. Yeah.
Thanks. Excellent. Glad you enjoy the intro music.
Hmm.
We also both need to probably point out that we are both wearing your jumpers.
Correct.
Yeah. Because I found Bracky and Supergood Bikers for Autism through the biking community.
Hmm.
Um, Something popped up on a group that I follow in the local area and about you doing your rides and stuff like that out. And we joined you for a ride and came out for a ride out. We had a brilliant day. Really, really enjoyed ourselves, and that's how we got to meet. But I start off my podcast. This is the series that we've done for this time round, and it's about, are you the perfect parent? So that's the first question I'm asking everybody in through having a chat with me. Bracky, are you the perfect parent?
And we've had that conversation already, which was quite fun. But yeah, I mean, as we all know, and everybody will hopefully answer, what you have to do, what you need to do to be the best parent you can be. And it's different for everybody. We all try to do stuff by our young people, and also our adults now, because some of us have got young adults.
Yeah.
Um, and you do as much as you can. And later on, when obviously we talk about a bit about the background and why I started the group and stuff. We can obviously go into that in a bit more depth. But no, I mean, obviously, definitely not the perfect parent. But do I try to be the perfect parent? Yes. That is what I tried to do. I had a very uh, difficult upbringing, in
Mm.
my mind,
Mm.
only to obviously find out now that I'm older that I'm autistic, or
Yeah.
certainly on the spectrum. My dad has classic autism, and he dealt, Lord knows how he kind of reflects on his life.
Mm.
And when I look back now, I can spot so many traits, etc.
Yeah.
And he found being a parent really tricky, as I have,
Yeah.
for a number of reasons, etc. But I think what it has always come down to with a lot of the dads that I speak to, and obviously time speaking to my wife, is do the best you can. Um, we've all go through overload. We all go through days where we want to absolutely kill them.
Yeah.
Um, to the point where I've had to walk out the house or get in the van and
Yeah.
get on the bike, and that
Yeah.
obviously leads to one of the questions later. But
Yeah.
do I adore him, or both of my boys? Absolutely.
Yeah.
They're absolutely amazing. I'm so proud to be a parent, and lucky to be a parent.
Yeah.
And I certainly would, if couldn't have had children, I would have certainly looked to adopt.
Mm.
So I've always wanted to try and
Mm.
be a parent, but certainly there are people out there that do it better than me, and I'm sure there are others out there that struggle and look at me and go, "Aren't you doing a great job?" But I have definitely got my struggles, which a lot of people will not see on Instagram or Facebook, etc.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And like you say, we only kind of know what we know, don't we? And we bring that from our experiences, possibly of our own parents, and whether we want to be like our parents or not like our parents, that kind of will drive our parenting. And then
Yeah.
it's what we learn along the way. And we only know what we know.
Yes.
And we're always learning, and it's always different. And even when
Yeah.
we've got more than one, and you think you've got it pinned, the second one comes along, and you think, I've got this, I've got it. No, I haven't. I really haven't.
Yeah.
And they just throw you something from the side, don't they? And throw you
Oh,
completely.
amazing. Just, I have to look back to my own childhood to reflect, because I've got two sisters.
Mm.
I'm the oldest of the three of us. And look at, I mean, his behaviors are very much like me as a kid, but I've forgotten that I used to behave like that. So I'm constantly speaking to my mum, going, I'm having terrible trouble with teens at the moment.
Mm.
Did I used to do this? And she's like, yeah, you used to cut the windowsill and burn things and throw things out the window. And
Mm.
you used to have massive tantrums and you used to sulk all the time. And I'm like, oh, I don't remember that. I'm sure I
Yeah.
did that. and
So,
and that's exactly what we're going through at the
yeah.
moment.
So
So
when did you become aware of your kind of your own neurodivergence then? You're saying you're
I,
autistic. When did you realize?
fairly recently, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. I think it was. I mean, yeah, I had more of a profound understanding since Oliver.
Yeah.
So he is diagnosed with a very rare chromosome deletion.
Right.
So
Okay.
he has a chromosome deletion, which is puts him on the spectrum. It also comes with situational mutism.
Okay.
So he will only talk in very strict circumstances with people that he knows and trusts after a
Feel
very
safe
long
with.
time. He never talks at school.
Yeah.
Um, and my eldest Josh, just seeing a lot of his behaviours, who Josh is very much like me, whereas Oliver is very much like his mum and very much like his granddad. They
Okay.
are like two peas in a pod. It's
Yeah.
incredible. But yeah, just and again, because I spoke to my mum and asked her questions about certain parenting things, and I was very close to my mum growing up, found it difficult to have a relationship with my dad. Although he absolutely adored me, we struggled to talk, and that's exactly what's going on with my son at the moment. He has a fantastic relationship with his mum, fantastic relationship with his granddad, exactly the same behaviors that I had. And you start kind of going, oh, okay, put that puzzle together. Or I remember struggling at school. You know, my mum going, do you remember when you got put in the supportive needs classes? And I
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
like, no, I don't remember that. And she's like, yeah, you used to have extra maths tuition, extra English. She said you did extremely well in your first year of GCSEs, but because you got put up a group, you got really overwhelmed and then suddenly like bombed all of your GCSEs.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and then you start going, right, okay. And then you start hearing all the podcasts, people sharing the same stories, dyslexia. I mean, I only found out I was dyslexic when I was 30.
Yeah.
And then obviously we've chatted and
Yeah.
gone, every time I write an email, Grammarly, it's like,
Yeah.
God for
You and I
Grammarly.
have, well, you and I have really interesting text messages, don't we? With words missing or we've misunderstood each other. Two dyslexic
It's all
brains
good.
meet together over writing.
Yeah, I just realized, you have to think like in some respects, I don't know if it's masking or what it is, but I have to think really hard
Yeah.
about a reply to make sure I follow a criteria because otherwise my replies are dreadful. People are
Yeah.
always texting me back going, sorry, what are you trying to say?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, sorry, it
Yeah.
just came out of my head
Yeah.
way too fast.
Yeah.
I'd already done the sentence, the whole paragraph, but I only gave you the end bit.
Yeah. Forgot you needed the rest of it.
Yeah, exactly. So then I have to go back and go,
Oh, I know
okay,
what you
what I was
mean.
trying to say was,
Yeah.
yeah. So, and I do, I got text yesterday and we were having a lovely conversation with one of the dads because I'm always speaking to the dads. And he wrote out a lovely text with all the context, etc. And I literally replied to the last sentence and didn't respond to anything else, then had to follow up with a million other texts going, oh yeah, that was a really valid point and thank you for that and that was cool.
Mm.
And but he knows me now, so he
Mm.
knows what I do. But
Mm.
for years, I had to literally train my brain to think a different way.
And that's
But when
really
I'm
hard, isn't it? It takes a lot of energy and a lot of effort to do that. I find for me anyway, I get to the end of the day, I'm absolutely exhausted thinking about how I should respond. I've read things over and over and over again to check they make sense. I
yeah,
mean, thank God for, AI and
yeah,
Grammarly and all sorts of things that are around now that weren't, around when we were younger,
mm,
when we just would have got it wrong,
yeah,
and probably offended people or misunderstood what people were trying to say to us.
oh yeah,
And
my
that's
yeah, absolutely.
exhausting.
Yes, it is because it's all in here,
Yeah.
and I always couldn't get it out on paper. And it wasn't until I was at higher education that I worked with a lovely lady who helped me understand that I was dyslexic. She found out a way to help me take my time to write. And I
Yeah.
did write a really small book when I was at higher education.
Did you?
Oh yeah, but it was not published, just like, but because it took me ages but the when she read it, she absolutely loved it, because it was such a stark contrast to how I came to her. But
Mm. Mm.
again, she if she would have been speaking to me now, she'd have probably said that you're dyslexic, but you have ADHD, because my brain is working so quickly all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. Constantly on to the next thing, on to the next thing. I'm one of those that
Yeah,
get like, ooh, I could do this. And then I'm off
yeah,
in a different direction.
yeah, yeah.
I've got
Honestly,
like 20 things I'm trying to juggle at the same time.
yeah. And if you don't write it down as a
It's
list,
gone.
yeah,
Yeah, completely.
yeah.
So, Bracky, tell us a bit more about Supergood Bikers for Autism and how that came about and what's it about?
Okay. Right, I'll do my best.
Mhm.
So the when Ollie got diagnosed, I had I've always wanted to ride motorbikes. Never really been in a financial position to do that, and with my job, I've travelled quite a lot of the globe doing what I was doing. And when I got married and settled down, my wife bought me a lesson to be able to do my CBT, which I'd always wanted to do. Passed it in Cambridge, and then when we moved to Bedford, I'd forgotten all about it, and then decided, right, I'm going to go out and do my biking. I absolutely love it. I wanted a nice little hobby. Um, we're really enjoying biking, but at the same time, when Ollie was born, we got his diagnosis, and I used to go out on my bike just to think. So Sunday morning, I'd be like, I'm having real struggles with this. I don't know what's going on. I'm really scared that I've read things that potentially he's got things that could happen to him that could be quite severe, because they tend to scare you with what's possible.
Mm.
And my brain just went off. So I used to go on the bike just to slow myself down,
Yeah.
because weirdly I found that riding out in the countryside, it was a bit like running. I used to run a lot and used to go out, and everything would move and it would be at a pace and it would feel really slow for me, but it would help me to process things.
Yeah.
So that was amazing. So I kept doing that. And then I had an off, broke my collarbone, and
Okay.
I ended up with 6 months off work, working from home. But what was amazing, I think Ollie he was at nursery at the time, or certainly going into primary school. So we had a couple of years of the diagnosis. And I ended up cycling with him to school, because I had this beautiful folding Brompton and it had a kiddie
Yeah.
seat front and everything. And I used to cycle him to school in the mornings before I go off to London. But during that time, he would cycle. He would have a little balance bike, and he's always been on bikes. And he used to balance bike next to me. I had no appreciation at the time for his. He seemed to relate quite well to the traffic, but obviously now I look back, I think, God, I don't know, I can't believe I let him used to do that. And he used to balance bike like for 3 miles to school, and
Wow.
balance like that and balance bike back. Yeah. So while I was doing that, I had a friend of mine who lived in Bedford, who was a massive bike guy, and we used to go out for coffee and just chat and have a bit of a dad's day. And he had two lovely boys, and we just kind of got talking and talking about bikes, and I just found myself like relaxing, being able to talk about Ollie and what my concerns were, but also being able to go out on the bike and go out with him occasionally. We then moved from Bedford to Leeds because we felt that we would be a good move to be near parents. He had a
Okay.
wonderful relationship with his granddad. His granddad's a motorcyclist, and is on the spectrum himself. And it just all clicked. Went really, really well. Quite a traumatic move, because
Yeah.
obviously it was so much upheaval for
Yeah.
Ollie and for us.
That's a lot, isn't it?
Um, but yeah, but while we were in Bedford, had a friend of mine who worked at Woburn Triumph.
Mm.
He lent me the brand new bobber. We did a charity ride in Brighton. I don't know why I picked Brighton, but I think there were a few people down there that were willing to help us, and we rode the original London to Brighton route
Yeah.
that they did for Quadrophenia.
Yeah.
We did it the opposite way round.
Okay.
So
So from
it was
Brighton up.
Yes.
Yeah.
So one, because it was quieter, um, because it was in and around the summer, but also just a way of thinking differently. So rather than everybody that did London to Brighton, actually we did Brighton to London and finished at the Ace Cafe instead
Yeah.
of leaving from the Ace Cafe.
Yeah.
We had 15 people on that,
Wow.
probably six, definitely two, but six of the original 15 still ride with us. I
Oh,
mean,
brilliant.
yeah, Michael Livins, who you might have met, who was on the ride with us, who lives Kent way, he's been pretty much on every single ride from
Yeah.
the word go.
Yeah.
So we've got some amazing supporters. But so it started from that, which was a charity ride raising money for the National Autistic Society. But literally from doing that, I then put another one in the following year,
Yeah.
same ride. Well, did it down south, and we raised some more money for the National Autistic Society. But suddenly, I was getting bikers along going, my son's autistic, my daughter's autistic. This is really good. Can you do more rides? And literally from 2017 until today, it's just grown organically.
Yeah.
You know, loads more parents, lovely community, mainly originally for dads to chat because it was mainly dads that I was talking to,
Yeah.
coming out on the bikes because obviously it was quite a male-driven environment for motorcycling. But now we've got loads of mums, mum bikers, mum pillions, and it's just a nice community. So that
Yeah.
as a dad, I will talk to other dads because there's not much out there for dads. But it's nice to have a few of the mums along as well and be inclusive because there are quite a few mums who don't get on well with the mums groups because
Yeah.
there are quite a few who actually seem to get on quite well with the with our group.
Mm.
But
And
yeah, it was.
there's something really lovely, isn't there, about going out in a group, I think. And when I think about when I came out with you, and obviously I ride with my partner, I ride pillion, but you'll be really pleased to hear, guess what I've got for a Christmas present?
Have you really?
I've got a trial for 2 hours and to
Nice. Well
go
done,
and have a
you.
go and
That's
actually
good.
ride. Mhm.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, at Dunsfold racetrack.
Really.
Yeah,
Wow.
I'm
Nice.
so excited, but I'm also really nervous. I
Yeah.
love going pillion, and I think I've for me, I've always loved bikes, but I've kind of loved them from a distance. I love them to look at. I think they're beautiful. I've got a thing about Harley Davidsons, so I've got a real thing about bikes. But never really had the opportunity to ride one. I've always been a bit scared, and of course, I've met my recent partner, and he's got his own bikes. So I've started to ride pillion. So we've a couple of years now riding pillion. But for me, like we talked about earlier, my brain is really busy and I can get very overwhelmed and I've been through burnout and with my own kids and the difficulties that we've had at home. And there's something about being on the bike where everything stops.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether it's a sensory aspect, because I'll get my OT hat on, whether it's a sensory, it's the noise, it's the white noise of the wind for me that just drowns everything out. I can't take any telephone calls. I can't talk to anyone unless I shout really loudly. Um, and it's a quietness. Although it's noisy, it's also a quietness that for me, I can't wait to get out on the bike. It's
Yeah.
just a real time out. And the other thing that I found that like you've talked about is that the biking community are so friendly. They will talk to anybody. They don't mind who you are. And I always feel a bit of a fraud sometimes, Bracky, if I'm honest, because I don't actually ride.
Yeah.
That I think, oh, they won't think I shouldn't be here. I've never felt that. I've had people
Good.
sit down at tables and chat to me about all sorts of stuff,
Yeah.
but it's been an amazing community to be part of, and coming out on the ride that we did for you guys, and it all being kind of centered around autism for me was really really important and meant a hell of a lot actually to be able to come out with you guys and thoroughly enjoyed my day. It was a great day, although really hot.
Yeah. It was a hot one, wasn't it?
Roasted,
I know.
roasted. But I think that was really important for me, and I still feel like I need to get out on the bike. So I can imagine that must be the case for other people that ride as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
We've got Jessica, one of the girls that has been a pillion with Chris for a couple of years and then ended up shifting into riding her own 125 and now leads quite a few of our
He
rides.
led our ride, didn't she? I
Yeah,
think.
yeah,
Yeah.
and that's what I mean is that it, lots of people approach me and they say, "How can I help? How can I get involved? Can I do anything?"
Mhm.
And I don't have answers to any of those really. All it is, look, I'm a dad. I
Yeah.
created something, not with the intention of what it's become. I've just things are moving. All I know is that I want more and more people to get involved, not for it to get too big, because obviously that will defeat the object, but in principle, to have as many people that want to join in around the UK that feel like they're part of that community. Some of the parents come and go. Um, some of them are on 125s and moved into bigger bikes, have disappeared off, said that they don't like the big ride outs, but they're able to do their own, and they've got two or three people and send me
Yeah.
photographs of them wearing the
Nice.
ID in their t-shirt. So, and
Yeah.
again, whatever works, if you
Yeah.
travel off to America, you've got the Arctic rider chap who lives up in I think he's Newcastle way, um, that goes off once a year. And I'm sure he's got a very understanding wife, but I think he's got two boys, and disappears off and does his Arctic ride.
Yeah.
And I can imagine he's probably processing his um, behaviors, and he loves the fact that he's independent, he's doing it on his own, he loves the quietness, he loves the challenge, but he's also probably going, actually, I've got a lad that's on the spectrum. You start questioning yourself now, and everybody's talking about now how it's very much it's certainly hereditary through one parent potentially. More information than I would know, but I certainly would agree with that, seeing my own family. But again, just lovely talking to him, talking to you, seeing Jessica progress. We've got another girl called Laura who's wanting to get involved, who I think she's on the spectrum too. I can't remember if that's factually correct. But again, like going into Screwfix in Barnsley
Yeah.
yesterday or the day before, and one of the dads going, "Oh, what's this about? My daughter absolutely loves motorbikes." So
Yeah.
it's like, well, so I literally did my job, went back and spoke to him, and then let him have one of the sweatshirts for his daughter. It's a
And I
private.
saw, was it her link? Was somebody's link you put up? It was riding in Scotland. Was that something
Oh, so
different?
that's Kerry. So yeah, so if you get a chance to share Kerry, Kerry is quite she I don't know if she classed herself as profound autistic, but she has really struggled.
Yeah.
She's absolutely amazing woman. She has severe dyslexia, but
Okay.
she doesn't hide it. She's had terrible trouble with people following her accounts because of the way she writes it, but she wants
Oh,
to be who she is. But one thing she can do is ride. And she has spent years getting frustrated that more people don't follow her because she does lots and lots of travel blogs and vlogs,
yeah.
traveled all the way around the world, done some wonderful rallies, etc., but never been picked up by mainstream social media elements.
Okay.
Um, Sometimes probably I would assume that she finds it quite difficult, and other people might not understand or be able to react with her in the way that they might do with someone that's more famous. But when you start to follow her account and you give her the time that she needs, you start to realize what a fabulous person she is, and how much she does for the community. So she's got an
Amazing.
autistic riders page. Yes, she shares stuff that you can't relate to on certain elements, but that's because the spectrum's so big. You agree with some things and don't with
Yeah.
others, but you give her the time and patience. But boy, she can ride though. She's
Can
a great
she?
rider. Yeah, if you see
Yeah.
her series that she's done this year, she's doing a big announcement soon because she's going off somewhere. She's texted me to tell me what she's doing, which is
Yeah.
amazing, but I'm not allowed to
No.
share it. So, but
Must.
I've known her like socially online for a couple of years now, but it's taken her 2 years just to trust me.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
And I suppose when you get a hard time from people and people are ju very judgmental, that's understandable.
yeah,
Those
but
protection
yeah, she's
mechanisms
wonderful.
kick in.
Yeah, and I think that's why I keep the community going. I've had a lovely guy called Matt who's very misunderstood sometimes, and he just likes following the group and putting likes. But I message him, ask him how he's doing. If he's,
Mm.
a lot of the adults, etc., don't work. We've got, oh yeah, just a lovely community. Mike and his son Leon over in Norfolk. We've got Gordon, who used to manage a business called HCOM. He thinks, I think he believes that he's on the spectrum too, but his son Tate comes along. He was at the Leeds Harley Davidson thing that I did and sat on the 125. He's doing his 125 thing at the moment. We've got Steve at Ride Safe, who is an instructor who's helping me with a whole load of 125 videos that we're going to put together to help autistic adults
Brilliant.
process what to do. So we're going to do a load of YouTube videos next year. So I'm getting the camera equipment for that. And just, yeah, just building,
Yeah.
you know,
And I think
asking people.
what's so nice, Bracky, that I kind of really noticed was being able to see dads talking. Because I'm being very stereotypical here. The mums, we tend to do a lot more talking, or we tend to access ways that we go and chat about things, and that's how we process things. And even from like the group that I run, I know you're part of that group, but you're in the minority being one of the men in there, one of the very few men in there, and it tends to be very dominated by women. And that's why partly I was so keen to get you on the podcast to talk to you, was
Mm,
to think about the dads out there and how dads, because dads are struggling too, mums are struggling and they're having a tough time, but there are a lot of dads out there that are struggling too. And, there's lots of stats around men's mental health and stuff, and the risk of of suicide in men, and how
mm,
high that is.
yeah.
That it was really apparent to me when I saw all of you at the end talking, was actually you created this really lovely group where dads were coming to chat.
Yeah.
Went on a ride, and then there was we had an ice cream because it was roasting hot, but it was a chat
Yeah, thanks,
um,
Tricky.
about life and what was going on. And like you said, you had that first experience for you of meeting up with that friend that was a biker and being able to chat through stuff, or just go for a cup of coffee with other dads that got it.
Yeah. I think that's it. I think a lot of the dads that are with us now love the fact that they can be open and have a conversation and not be judged.
Yeah,
My son takes his Peppa Pig. He's 25 years old, and we
yeah,
go out shopping. I
yeah,
find it really embarrassing.
yeah,
Yeah, of course you do, bud.
yeah,
Don't No, 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 I'm not judging you,
yeah,
but that's what your son's going to do. So it is good to feel happy. And he's like, oh, well, what does your son do? And it's like, and then you share the conversations, and he's like, oh, I'm not on my own. And I think that's a lot with a lot of the dads, is that when we've got a lovely guy called Dave, whose grandson comes along to the ride because him and his wife look after their grandson. Absolutely fabulous. And we do a ride for Taylor for the Brighton ride. But again, it's just nice to text Dave every now and again. He does a lot of work, so it's tricky to get hold of him. But even if it's twice a year and I text him and say, how you doing, buddy? Are you coping okay? Are things all right? They're okay, but Tyler's done this and it's been a bit tricky, and this is happening. And it's like, look, a lot of the dads will all say, look, we're all here if you want each other, which is great, but it's hard to actually do that when things are going tricky uh, for you to honestly phone up a mate. But what we are seeing now within the group is there's certainly a lot of dads now who are open to that conversation.
mm,
So, and they do free themselves up.
mm.
Um, there's
And it builds that
nothing.
connection, doesn't it? And I think, I talk about in my group about, finding your backup team and getting a
Yeah,
connection with people. And that's what gets you through,
yeah,
because it can be really lonely. It can feel as a parent, we're the only ones going through this. I don't, you might have, if you're in NCT classes or whatever it is, or your group of
yeah,
friends,
yeah,
and you might be one of the only people in that group that have got children with additional needs as part of your family, and that feels really isolating, and what they can go and do you can't always go and do, and no one
mm,
really gets it, no one really gets the joys, but also the stresses of that and the difficulties that come with that. And when you can
Yeah.
find your community that get it,
Yeah.
wow, does it make some difference?
Yeah, yeah. It's nice just to be able to know that you're, and it's a big community because it's from very severe elements of care and support all the
Yeah.
way through to people who just who will, I don't say just because their struggles are their struggles, but they're 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 things that they need support with,
Mm.
uh, but they're not in the same level. So, like with severe autism, non-verbal, biting, hitting, punching, breaking things, etc. That's a daily thing.
Yeah.
Whereas I know with some of the adults, now that they're older, they may have done that when they were younger, but they have elements that they can control. Whether you call it masking, I don't know what it's realistic, but they end up having things, but they still become overloaded. They still go very quiet. They still have their behaviors that
Mm.
they fall into. And we have that conversation going, but that's natural.
Mm.
It's absolutely cool. If you cannot take it and you are having a massive burnout, but do me a favor, text and say, I'm having a terrible time of it. Um, and if you want to chat, that's cool. But even just sending that text going, I'm having a really bad day.
Yeah.
I just want to jump off a cliff. And it's like, you know,
Mm.
right, what is there anything I can do? Are you okay? And he's like, no, I just
Mm.
need to talk.
Yeah.
I like therapy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Sometimes
Yeah. Yeah.
you don't need the answer, you just need someone
Yeah.
to listen.
And sometimes I suppose as well, I mean, just going out on the bikes together as a group, it's just being with other people, but not having to talk because sometimes you don't want to talk about it. Sometimes,
You
it's
just want to
enough at
bump.
home. I just
Yeah.
want to get out and blow some steam off, go for a ride, be around some other people, have a cup of coffee, and head back home feeling like I can take it back on again.
Yeah. Because autism, ADHD, neurodivergence is part of your full-time role. So
Yeah.
escaping on the bike is, and a lot of the dads do, we're all, when we're feeling down, every one of us has said, just get out on the bike for
Yeah.
20 minutes. Go and open up your garage and just get on the road for 20 minutes. Even
Yeah.
if you go up to the coffee shop, have a coffee and come back.
Yeah. Yeah.
It
Yeah.
doesn't matter if you're on a 125, a scooter, a Harley, whatever, just get that bike out and go for that ride, get your fresh air,
Yeah.
uh, you know,
Yeah.
find that sense of freedom. But same with anything, be it running, be it, whatever your thing is,
It's what
you know,
floats your boat, isn't it?
yeah. I mean,
Mm.
gosh, if you were to see my old Instagram account, I used to spend every day when Oliver was younger walking up and down a canal with a fishing rod with a
Yeah,
boat
did
that
you?
Ollie used to pull up and down for hours, hours. So I had to go out on the bike at the end of the day. The tricky thing is when you've got a partner and you're going, I need to go out and ride.
Yeah.
And they're
Yeah.
going, oh, I haven't seen you all day. And it's like, look, just give me half an hour.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. It's that time
and
just
it's
to
worth
kind of
it.
reset.
And yeah, reset for your partner and reset for for your kids.
Mm. Mm.
And I have been one of those dads where I've locked myself in the toilet when my wife's been away working for the week and Ollie's like gone into full blown meltdown and you just end up kind of going, you know,
Yeah.
bang smash and it's like just breathe, just breathe, just
Yeah.
breathe.
Yeah. And trying to get back on top of it.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
spent a few hours with male Dr. Sarah who used to be great, give me some great advice, you know,
Mm.
about why does he break so much stuff? I don't understand why you'll give him something and then 2 minutes later you'll find it smashed in the corner.
Mm.
And
Mm.
she's like, he's overwhelmed.
Yeah.
You were overwhelming him with certain things. And again, you need people to talk about that. How many iPads have you smashed?
Yeah. Yeah. But
We've
it's
all,
like it takes us right back to the beginning again, doesn't it? About you only know what you know and you're doing the best with what you've got at the time. And it's only by meeting other people and talking and sharing it that you find out, okay, well, this isn't working for us, and somebody else said that works for them. I'm going to try it and see if it
yeah,
works. And it's
you've
finding
got to
what
try
works for
everything.
you as a family.
Yeah. I think that's the big thing for me is try everything, you know. Don't listen to the norms of, it is a bit like I mean, Ollie didn't sleep through the night until he was 7. literally used to wake up at 1 o'clock and 3 o'clock, like
Yeah.
clockwork.
Yeah.
And we were so exhausted, you
Yeah.
know. Um, but he toilet trained really quickly. He walked really
Yeah.
quickly. He
Yeah.
loved doing certain things, unlike other parents that we know that were on the spectrum. Um, and again, it's like you said, exactly that, ask questions, try something, give it a go. It'll
Mm.
probably last you a few weeks and then you'll be on to,
It'll change.
yeah,
So you think
yeah,
you've got it pinned and then they change it.
totally,
Yeah.
absolutely. And you wait and I thought the teens would be a bit easier, but I've actually found them a lot harder.
Mm.
Probably because I'm an older dad, but I've just found them harder because I kind of expected them to be easier, and that was probably naive of me.
Yeah.
But I have spoken to a lot of dads who I've got help from who are older. So Mike with his son Leon, who's 26.
Hmm.
Leon's non-verbal, he uses aids, but we chat and say, what happens when
Mm.
Leon really has a difficult day and he has to let all that energy go. And, Mike and I be like, yeah, it's been a tricky day. I'll
Yeah.
text him and go, oh my God, I've had three RC cars and two iPhones screens smashed. So that
Yeah.
and literally in one day.
Yeah.
And
It
he'll
gets
go, don't
expensive.
worry. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
there is an expense to it.
Yeah, there is. I'm just thinking about that, Bracky. If you could go back to your younger self as a parent,
Mhm.
what would you what would you say to your younger self?
Ooh. Um, I think it's just, I think for me, going back is just to be patient.
Yeah.
I think patience for me, for certainly for me, is the biggest thing, is because of my own. Um, I've always been quite relaxed, but when I do go red, I do go red quite quickly,
Hmm.
and probably over silly things. So if I was going back to me, I'd go, look, don't sweat the small stuff.
Yeah.
Yes, it's hard to do that, and it's easy to say, but I have to do that now. I mean, my wife's really good at supporting me that when I get completely overwhelmed because I am a full-time carer, you know, how, don't react to this, step back, relax,
Mm.
So I think if I was going back, I'd be saying to, my younger self that, just it's not as bad as you think it is.
Yeah.
Yes, it's very challenging, but you will find a lot of joy um in those. You just have to go with what your kid needs, you
Yeah.
know. And like Ollie doesn't like motorbikes anymore. When he was growing up, he absolutely loved them.
Hmm.
And half one of the reasons, obviously, for doing the thing was because Ollie rode a lot of motorcycles. For some reason, he was absolutely, his balance is brilliant. And he used to ride them all the time,
Yeah.
but now he doesn't. And I struggled for a bit
Yeah.
with that change because I desperately wanted him to be the
Yeah.
kid that was autistic on his motorbike, but realised now he's Mr. Minecraft. Uh,
Okay.
yeah, but then I felt like a fraud because I'm like, well, hang on a minute, I don't go out on my bike as much. I'm running a Bikers for Autism thing, but that's because it's about me now, not
Yeah.
about kind of so much for him. I mean, it was always a little bit about me because it was my sense of going out, but I've now realized half the reason, like I'm doing the sidecar thing now, is that Ollie likes being in a motorcycle, but he doesn't like to change into the kit. So when I used to take him to school a lot,
Okay, so
he
there's a
loved being
barrier
at the
is the
back of the
kit.
bike. So yeah. Find the barrier, overcome it, find the source. So I'm hoping like next year we'll be able to ride to school every single day because all he do is put his helmet on, doesn't have to wear anything else, and he go on the sidecar 24/7 to school.
Yeah.
So
Tell us
same
about
with
the sidecar, Bracky, because I know this is something that's coming up for you and you're trying to raise money for this, is a sidecar. So tell us a bit about that.
yeah. So the principle is that so for the past couple of years, everybody's been saying, can we move to a charity? We'd like to donate money to you, not just to the National Autistic Society. Can you register as a charity? But in order to do that, I need to have something that's tangible, that I provide a service for people.
Okay.
So I was really struggling with what that was, how to do it.
Yeah.
But what I found with quite a few people now that they're on board with, now that we've got a lot of ambassadors, is they're all saying, right, your rides are part of the service that you give. You
Yeah.
provide information to people about 125. You do all this other stuff.
Yeah.
And then again, out of the back of trying to take Ollie to school and trying to figure out a way to get him to school, I was looking at a trike, and I'm kind of, because I've had an accident on the bike, I always get the Mickey takers saying you need to ride a trike, not a bike, because you keep falling off. So I kind of twisted that around and said, okay, well, actually, that would work for Ollie.
Yeah.
Why couldn't we do that? But what that then expanded to, so the same thing you say about your thought process is just go all
Mm.
over the place. Was then it turned into, well, actually, what if we, and I floated this with a lot of the dads, what if we had a sidecar that was purpose built so that we could all take our kids out? And not
Amazing.
just me take your kids out, but you take them out. So here are the keys to the bike. Let's become a charity. Let's get one or two sidecars, but we need them so that they're safe enough that most of the kids that would go in there would have quite profound mobility restraints,
Yeah.
lots of heavy stimming, potential flight risks, etc. So how do
How
we
do we keep them safe?
yeah, so for me, what I'm trying to do at the moment is to buy a bike and a sidecar for Ollie and I
Mhm.
out of my own money, but the £6,000 to £7,000 will be that we're raising this year is to go to Watsonia and build a purpose-built sidecar that would
Amazing.
allow any person with young or old with certain mobility and physical challenges that they have to be able to sit in a sidecar and be able to enjoy that experience with a carer. So either the carer goes on the back because they want to be on the self in the sidecar, or whether it's big enough that they could fit an adult and a young person in
Oh,
the sidecar.
wow.
Not two adults because we can't quite
Yeah.
do.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, so the principle is to try and get a sidecar built this year for 2027, 2026, sorry. So we'll raise the money this year. It takes about 6 to 8 months to build it. It would
Hmm.
have to be specially designed to be able to cater for lots of different needs. And then we would then provide that as a free service while we move towards a community charity to people around the UK, mainly other charities. So we go to those charities, agree to take their young adults out for a half a day, couple of hours, even 20 minutes, even just sitting in the sidecar.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I would dedicate the time that my son is at school to be able to go over at least once or twice a week and be able to then run those little run that as a service. So
Amazing.
taking everything from what we said about before about people wanting to donate to the charity, being able to take all the investment that people would then be able to put into us, because there'd be a lot of companies that could donate to me as a charity, and then be able to agree how we set that up.
Mm.
So in principle, with the money is to buy a sidecar and have it purposely created, and then that would go on a suitable bike. Um, and then I would then hopefully have my own sidecar, so the sidecar would be available for people to use.
Yeah.
So one of the ambassadors has already offered up potentially their bike as a donor bike,
Oh,
which
wow.
is lovely. Well, two of them have actually, but we'll see where that goes.
Yeah.
Because I don't really want to take that off of them. And then the following year, if that's really successful, what Sonia will build a purpose-built wheelchair access sidecar.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah. So there's a strategy around it. I can now
Yeah.
write my business plan. I can
Yeah.
put it in hopefully to a community thing, and then we will then become hopefully next year. I think it's a CIC,
Yeah.
which we'd need to do first before we move to a full blown charity.
Yeah.
But yeah, it means I've always been upfront about the fact that if you donate to us, I only use money for shipping, and every single penny then goes to the charities.
Yeah.
So I think we've raised about 22 to
I
£25,000
couldn't
over.
believe it when you texted me that with your intro,
Yeah,
how much you had raised. It's a huge amount of money.
it's not bad. I do have a friend of mine who races for the Whiz Kids, and he
Yeah.
raises like a phenomenal amount of money, which is obscene, which is lovely. So maybe
At your
um,
competition, Bracky.
yeah, well, he used to do it for Men's Health, but I think he's moved to Whiz Kids now, which is fantastic. So I
Mm,
don't know whether there was any influence or something to how he got influence to do that. But the great thing is he's donating a lot of money to provide kids with wheelchairs, which
yeah.
was, you know, and we've had a conversation before to say the point in the rides that I do is not only just to create a community, but to get involved with parents who have got kids that aren't able to come out.
Yeah.
So where Dave will struggle to come out on all the rides because he's quite busy, I normally text him now and say, which weekends have you got free? Can you bring Tyler along? And actually, next year he can sit in the sidecar, and if you want to,
Yeah.
I can give you the keys. You can ride it, and you can get Grandma on the back, and then take Tyler off for a ride.
Yeah. How
It's like
amazing
that'd be
would that be?
amazing. Yeah. And that
Yeah.
for me, that's worth £6,000,
Yeah.
just that one ride. So
Yeah. And what we'll do at the end of the on the podcast is we'll put all your links, Bracky, so people can find you. So if they might want to donate towards the sidecar, they can do that. We'll obviously put you're on Facebook and you're on Insta.
Insta, TikTok, yeah.
Yeah. So we
But
could,
the TikTok's mainly for the old rider videos,
yeah,
just because they're easier to find on TikTok. Instagram is my main daily stuff.
yeah,
Facebook is where I do most of the event information,
yeah, yeah,
but
yeah,
everything's on the website. So I have
yeah.
got a dedicated website that I
Yeah.
keep going.
So we'll make sure we put all of those people can find that because the other thing, of course, that you've got coming up next year, which me and my partner were having a look at to check whether we can make it, and we've already put it in the diary,
Yeah, yeah.
is you also do the ride outs. So you've got your plan, you've got your agenda for next year, haven't you, about all the ride outs, and you're all over the country.
Yes. So all the events are on the page. We've got ones from Rikers. We've got another one from the Yonderman Cafe. So we kind of keep to the north and the south. It's
Yeah,
quite difficult to do Wales and Norfolk. We are doing a Norfolk ride, but mainly because when you add them up, we do one a month.
yeah.
And that's quite tricky to do one a month on a time commitment for me.
Because the weather does play a part,
So
doesn't it? This time of year, you
it's
don't really
easy
want to
to
be out on
fill
your
up six
bike.
months worth of rides. We have got an end of season one which isn't out there yet, but that's from Bedford. Uh, no, no. Yeah, and it starts in April when it's a bit cold. And what we've moved to now is that we do create a ride, so we encourage everybody to have local little ride outs, wear their t-shirts, wear their hoodies. They don't have to raise money. It's just about getting out there and talking to other people and maybe having a cup of coffee. But the proper rides start from May.
Yeah,
So
brilliant.
in May, we then hit those rides and we go all the way to September. And then September's pretty much when I have to close it out because once we get back to school,
Yeah,
my time's gone again. So
yeah,
it's
yeah,
it can be quite
definitely.
tricky.
Bracky, thank you ever so much. Thank you for coming on.
You've
And
frozen.
oh, have I frozen? Hopefully I'll come back on. Am I back on again?
Have I frozen or have you
No, I
frozen?
think it could be me. I've got two children upstairs playing computer games, so I should imagine it's just my internet's gone. I think it's probably
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
I'm just going to
Yeah.
tie us up, Bracky, and
Yeah, no
say
worries.
thank you ever so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. I love being able to talk about bikes. I might not be an expert, but I love talking about them. It puts a smile on my face. And just it's just really interesting to know what you've been doing and what's out there for dads out there, but also maybe, as you say, mums as well, that might be bikers that would like to get involved. We'll put all Bracky's
Yeah, yeah.
contact details and everything down
Just
there.
message us.
Hold of you.
Yeah, yeah. I'm totally happy for people to message me through Facebook, Instagram, and I reply to everything. So I certainly do my best.
Yeah.
I might not remember on some bits, but you know, if you need to ask a question or you want to get involved or you just want to know something, yeah, just drop us a message. It's not a
Yeah.
problem. So,
Thanks ever so much,
and
Bracky.
we'll see you at Writers
You're
Festival
going to see
anyway,
us
won't
at
we? So,
Rikers. It's in the diary. It's in the diary. Well, that's it for this episode of the Untypical OT Talks. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. Whether you're walking the dog, folding laundry, or hiding in the toilet for 5 minutes apiece, and there's no judgment here, I'm glad you chose to spend your time with me today. If you're a parent or a carer of a child with additional needs and you're feeling overwhelmed, burnt out, or just like you need a bit of backup, I've got you. And I'm here to help you find a way through the trickier stuff, like behaviour and those moments when you feel like you might just run out of steam, so you can be the parent you want to be and take care of yourself too. Want to connect? You'll find me over on all the social media sites, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, where I share more tips, resources, and real talk. And hey, if this episode made you laugh, nod along, or feel a little less alone, why not buy me a coffee? Just click the link in the show notes. It's a small way to show your support and keep this podcast going. Take care of yourself today. You're doing an amazing job. Until next time, let's keep getting curious together.